Welcome back. This is Flanley with Flanley Gaming. I recently did a review of the Piers Morgan interview with Mark Lamont Hill, Lily Gaddis, Myron Gaines, and Ricky Slott. I broke it up into 3 parts because I didn't want to just do the part where Mark Lamont Hill blows up. That's kind of been what everyone's doing. I actually thought the beginning of the interview was more interesting and more what I'd like to talk about.
2 recent stories in the US have laid bare the shocking levels of racial division in American society, amplified by extreme and viral takes on social media. 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony is a black teenager charged with stabbing a white boy to death at a school track meeting in April. More than $600,000.
I'm not really quite sure why they're comparing these two. One, someone said a word. Okay, it's racially charged. It's wrong. I'm 100% against her saying that. But that dude killed a kid. Come on, man. They shouldn't even be comparing these two, except for the stupid GoFundMes. I wouldn't be giving either one of these a GoFundMe.
In donations have poured in, not for the victim's grieving family, but for his alleged killer. Last week, Shilo Hendrix went viral after a video showed the young mother racially abusing a 5-year-old, allegedly for stealing from her young child.
Call him a child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again?
Fuck you.
Huh?
Well, let me say this. They say how she continues to say, yeah, well, the dude's goading her into saying it. She's going to, at that point, she's riled up. She's going to, back, you know what I'm saying? So she feels defensive. But kids take stuff. If they see a toy they want to play with, they'll go over there and get it. It doesn't mean that they're really thieves. It's not like, it's a 50-year-old stealing from a store for pleasurable things or whatever, I don't know. I just think people are all twisted up over something that is nothing. And of course, she's out for a money grab now.
All right, that's what you say.
But I do respect the guy for standing up for the kid. You got to do that. I did another video on it. It's going to be my first video I'll post.
The little child.
This will come after it.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
No, I don't think she's going to hit him. Even though I respect the guy, I think he is blowing it up to be more than it is, and I think other people are too. It's wrong. People should be upset about it. She should be ashamed. But it is, look, we do have protected free speech, and free speech isn't speech that, that you like. It's speech that you don't like. You don't have to protect speech that you like, Hey, everybody says that. Say all the right things. If you say everything I like, oh, wow, great, we get along. You got to protect people from the things they don't want to hear. And that's not advocating for violence. Or that, of course, that's not okay. You can't do that. You can't dox people. You can't be out swatting people, but that wouldn't be a free speech thing. That would be something different. But, but I don't need to be told if it's free speech or not. It's still wrong. Do I have to litigate something for me not to do it? I mean, lady, you should know better. You're an adult. Don't say that to a kid. You want to say it to a grown-ass adult that's going to bow up with you? Go for it. That's between y'all. I still wouldn't do it. I don't think it's right. But at the same time, at least they can defend themselves. Now, do I think the kid's going to be scarred for life? No. If the kid's scarred for life over this, it's probably because of outside pressures that are continually added on. The kid probably would have forgotten about this in no time. I don't know for sure either way, but I'm just saying, I don't think so. If he's going to be scarred for life over this, he's pretty weak-minded.
Son, stop.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old.
Well, as you can see, Hendrix doesn't deny using the slur. In fact, she repeats it many times. That's all the stuff is bleeped out. When a bystander in the park follows her with his smartphone. Hendrix set up a fundraiser on the same website as Karmelo Anthony's supporters, on which she wrote, "I called the kid out for what he was."
That's stupid.
Incredibly, That campaign has now raised more money than the first one, surpassing $655,000 at the time of taping the show. Well, the boss of the website, Give, Send, Go, is accused of facilitating brazen racism on a platform whose motto is "Money is temporary, Jesus is eternal." He will join me later. Liberals say this is exactly what they've been warning about, that the post-BLM backlash and the crushing of DEI has provided a fig leaf for outright bigotry. Conservatives were similarly outraged by the support for Karmelo Anthony, an alleged murderer who's been glorified by some as a victim of a racist system. We're here to debate all this as the host of the Fresh and Fit podcast, Myron Gaines, the host of Night School on YouTube, Mark Lamont Hill, Lily Gaddis, a social media commentator whose video defense of the N-word mother has so far been viewed millions of times on X, and the New York Post columnist and author Ricky Schlott. Well, welcome to all of you. Ricky, look, my take on this is a stain on all their houses, right? I just don't know what is happening to society when you have such vast sums of money being raised for what seems to me to be deliberate, racially charged, motivational reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're fighting ugly with ugly right now. And I think this level of racial tribalism and hostility is just simply not sustainable in such a diverse democracy like America. I think it's, one is really a reaction to the other. I think both campaigns are really hideous, and I think we're showing our ugliest colors. I mean, in the scheme of things, these are small sums relative to the population of America, but you do see, I think, a really tremendous explosion of ugliness and racial hostility that I think that we should all be ashamed and embarrassed of.
Yeah, I mean, you described it, I think, in one of your posts as genuinely, is this a psyop? This would be the best $1 million invested by a foreign adversary to start a race war in America. And I knew exactly what you getting.
Well, I don't think it's going to end up there. I mean, that's a big reach, but I think things have been worse in the United States in the past. And I mean, in the recent past, it was pretty bad under Joe Biden. I think everybody felt a lot of racial tension. I think that's lessened up. I think the race hustlers are keeping it going. I think the race hustlers have a lot to do. And look, I don't think there's not white race hustlers. There are people so concerned about being able to say the N-word. Come on, dude. Does it matter? Why does that matter? Just don't say it. It's not that big a deal. It's not something, I mean, I don't care about it any kind of way. I don't care about it. Now, if you want the cold hard truth, I'm nobody's hero. I don't sit around worrying about black people at all. The only black people I worry about is the black people that are in my family. I worry about my family. But let me tell you another hard truth. I don't worry about white people at all. I worry about my family. I'm not worried about other people's bullshit. I don't do YouTube to save the world. I do like doing YouTube. It's, I do enjoy it. Haven't made anything yet of it. But I ain't out trying to save the world. If you are part of my audience and you think I'm here to save people, you're sadly mistaken. I'll comment and give you my opinion, tell you how I feel. If we resonate, that's fine. Comment down below. If you don't, that's fine. Comment down below. I don't care. I'm not in concern if you love me or not. Do I like people to like me? Yeah. I like when people like me. I prefer that you like me than don't like me. But is it something that I need? No, I don't. I don't need it. I think people liking you tends to add to your success. But the thing about people that don't like you, you show me 100 people that don't like me, there's 100 people out there that will. And so I'm okay with it. I just got to go find those 100 people. Right now I'm looking for 1,000. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Getting at, because many of the I think the comments have now been suspended actually on both of these funding pages, because people.
And why anybody would fund either one of these people blows my mind. Just mind boggling. One kid killed a kid, and another one used a racial slur against a little bitty kid. Not even like a teenager or something, like a little bitty, like a 5 or 6 year old. That's disgusting.
People were quite obviously deliberately misusing them to post race baiting commentary.
Absolutely. I mean, if you go through some of the comments on either of them, you have White Lives Matter on one side, and like suggestions that the teenage boy who was stabbed was somehow like a manifestation of white supremacy, and it seems to be just a fight at a track meet that has nothing to do with racial hostility in the first place. And the poor father of this young man who died too said, "Please don't make this into a racial issue," and yet on his own.
Yeah, it was never not going to happen. They were always going to make it a race issue. It's part of the black hustle. They love it. They're going to make it a race issue. Now, is this for all blacks? No. Go look at Officer Tatum. Go look at some of these other YouTube commentators. Look, people are changing their mindsets on this. Not everybody is part of this racial grift, but enough are that this was going to happen. I know black people that do not agree with this whatsoever. I mean, some of them are friends that I would lay down in the track for, but look, they're just like-minded. I don't understand why people think, oh, because someone's of another race that they can't be like-minded. Are they going to think exactly like me? No, no one does. My family doesn't think exactly how I think. Why do I think someone else is supposed to? Someone from another culture and race. They're just not. But we're more alike than not, though. And I think that's true for most Americans, even the Democrats to the Republicans. I think we're more alike than we like to admit, especially when you start looking at the world. I just think some things haven't been thought out well enough.
Own Give Send Go campaign, there are comments after comment saying this is White Lives Matter, we're avenging against Karmelo Anthony's family. I mean, on all ends, this is ugly. I think that it's really co-opting the charity and giving community. I mean, I feel bad for the fundraising platforms because I don't think this was the intention originally. But unfortunately, I think that people are really starting to take over good intents and the charity industrial complex to make it into a victim industrial complex. And it's really sad to see.
Well, we're going to have one of the founders of the...
Now, she's talking reason, and the dude in the middle, he's just saying he's not wanting to have it. He's already upset. I could see it in his face. He's a pissy bitch.
Give, Send, Go site a little later in the program. But Mark Lamont Hill, you were shaking your head there. I mean, what's your take on this?
There are a couple of things that were said that I think are really interesting and important. One, there is an outside audience of people who are watching all of this and opportunistically using it for their own agendas and projects. You know, I have an investment in believing X, so I'm going to jump in the comments of this GoFundMe, etc. I have an investment in Y, I'm going to do the same thing. But what I don't want to do is compare these two things as if they're opposite sides of the same coin. For me, the intention of the campaign matters. In the case,
oh my God, bro, are you going there, dude? Are you telling me the kid that murdered another kid is even in the same stratosphere as the woman using a bad word to a kid? Look, I don't agree with her, but dude, don't compare them. They're not comparable. Look, I lost a son. You'll never know what that's like. You're a
case of this woman who is using the N-word. The woman isn't disputing using the N-word. The woman isn't disputing being racist.
The N-word. So
and
what?
The comments that are being left on the site before they were suspended and the attitudes behind it weren't saying she's being railroaded, she's being misrepresented. They were simply saying, we support racism. And I think that's disgusting, no matter who's doing it.
It is disgusting.
On the other hand, the people are fundraising for Karmelo Anthony. The argument here isn't, yeah, we did something and we don't care, like the other woman. The argument is we're being misrepresented here. We're being
you're being misrepresented.
Railroaded. This was a self-defense claim. This is not an act of violence. This isn't first-degree murder. I'm saying what they're saying. This isn't my argument. They're saying this is a first-degree murder claim that is wrong. This is actually self-defense. The money to make it fair.
Because he put a hand on the shoulder.
And so whether you agree with his argument or not, I think raising money for a fair trial is different than raising money for a racist.
I mean, I think the common theme between the two, and this is not to pass any view about it at this stage, although I have strong views about it. I guess the common theme is that both of them say that as a result of all the publicity, they've been doxxed and had all their personal details
No one should be
put
doxxed.
everywhere on social media, which is, of course, the modern scourge which gets involved. And that as a result, they've had death threats and they have security issues.
No one should be getting
and
death
they
threats.
have to move home.
Enough people have died. No one needs to get death threats. I don't care what side you're on. No one needs to be getting swatted. No one needs to be getting any of that. No one should be doing that.
And so on. I understand that part of the argument. When you're at the center of a firestorm in America and you're not used to public attention, then the levels of intimidation, threats, and so on that can come your way can be extremely intimidating, if not outright dangerous. So it's different really to taking a view about either of the cases, to simply say that the commonality is that they both, I think, have said in defending the amounts that have been raised is, well, we have to defend ourselves. Either, as you're putting it, through the courts, but also in his case, the alleged killer, that he has also, I think, had direct threats against him. And in the case of the mother using the M-word in that despicable manner, she has said she's had a lot of threats too.
My quick response to that would just be, let's assume everybody's telling the truth. Let's assume she's telling the truth, and let's assume he's telling the truth. If he's telling the truth and he was doing self-defense and he's getting harassed and doxxed, and of course we already know lies have been told about his GoFundMe campaign, saying they were spending it on mansions and cars, all the kind of racist tropes. If that's true, he's being mistreated, and I think that's a sort of very easy case to make. When it comes to her, however, let's assume she's also telling the truth, that she used the word. She thinks the kid was acting like one. She feels like she has the right to use that word against that small baby because of whatever age-appropriate thing the kid did. If she's telling the truth and she's getting doxxed and harassed, I don't know if I want to reward her behavior with $500,000. I don't think she should.
I don't reward his behavior with $500,000. I don't reward either one of them. You skew it for your one side, but you can't see it the other way because you're a racist. You're a racist. Let's call it what it is.
Should be doxxed. I don't think she should be harassed. I think she has been mistreated to the extent that no one should be. You have a right to be racist. You have a right to free speech in this country. But I'm not donating money for it, and I feel a lot worse
if that's
about.
what you're saying, then I take back what I just said. If that's what you're saying, you're fucking right. I agree with you. She has a right to say those things, but should she? No. You shouldn't have to litigate every thing you say. I shouldn't have to say, oh, it's the law that you can say that or not say that. I shouldn't have to say it's against the law to say that for her not to say that. You don't know not to say that to a little kid? How kind of stupid are you? No one has a monopoly on stupid, I guess, Funny to go around.
Her GoFundMe than the one for the person who's been railroaded.
Yeah. Well, Lily Gaddis, you posted a defense of Shilo on X. It's been viewed 2.5 million times, in which it was entitled, "White People Are Finally Fighting Back. Stand with Shilo Hendrix." What did you mean by that?
And white people ain't fighting back. Because you're donating to her fund, you're helping fight back. That's not fighting back. You don't need to fight back. We need to reach across the aisle and move forward. It's like we took some steps. We did better. And boy, sure as shit, we taking some steps back. We take some forward, we take some back. I do think we're moving all in all out of the gutter. But bro, let's get to the end already.
Here's the thing. White people have been under attack for years. It's been systematic racism. As much as black people and people of color want to talk about systematic racism in the United States, it's quite the opposite. They get preferential treatment when it comes to getting a job, when it comes to getting into colleges. White people, on the other hand, have been getting attacked relentlessly. Look at 2016 and BLM and all the riots. We just had to sit back and watch people burn down our cities and do nothing about it. So the way to fight back against essentially this anti-white hatred that's been systemically, ingrained in U.S. society is with white unity. We don't see white unity on our side.
Hang on. Okay, but hang on. Sorry, just to be clear, this has got nothing to do with anything you've just said.
I agree with Piers on this. I do agree it's a free speech issue. I don't think she's wrong with what she said. We are expected to eat shit and smile with a grin. But I think there's a misunderstanding. I think the narrative of the whole white privilege has really taken root And I think they want it to take root because then they can say, look, you've gotten special treatment. Now I need some special treatment to even this thing out. I don't know what special treatment they think we're getting. Look, just being white, I can't walk in, like you'll see jokes about it, like, the white guy walking into the bank and just getting a loan because he's white. That's not true at all. I promise you that. Look, if you don't meet certain criteria, you ain't getting a loan. And that criteria is going to reach across the board to black people too. Now, at one time, maybe it didn't. Maybe, and we got to combat that. I'm not saying if there is racism, we should just turn a blind eye. No, not at all. Those are the things we need to be addressing. Let's isolate, identify real racism, attack it, root it out. The whole redlining, that was a problem. But I'm not giving you a leg up now because of it. Look, you think I got a leg up because of that? I absolutely did not. Just because I'm white. The reality is, like, and people want to compare, they think everybody is Elon Musk. I mean, black people think all white people, they want to compare us to the richest white people. Dude, there's so few of them, it's not even funny. And I promise you, there's more poor white people in this country than there are poor black people because we make up more of the country. Maybe not on a percentage basis. Either way, look, let's focus on making things right, but for both sides. Look, for everybody. I wasn't pushing back on a lot of the BLM stuff that some people were, only because any law that they create for them is probably going to benefit me too. That's how I felt about it, especially with the police officers. Dude, I'm more nervous about the police than I am gangs around here, but I don't live in a bad area either, though. So, I mean, that makes all the difference. I mean, we live in a decent area. Dude, I watch stuff on the news all the time about police just doing some corrupt. And look, they're like anybody else. When I used to drive trucks, people used to be like, they would ask me, well, are they this way? I said, dude, they're a slice of life. You're going to have some people that are, overweight. You're going to have some people that are fit. You're going to have some people that are talk your ear off. Some people don't want to talk at all. I mean, it's just whatever's in the world, that's what you're going to get. And that's what you get with police officers too. I'm all for having them cameras on all the time. They shouldn't even have the ability to cut them things off. That's how strongly I feel about it. They should not even have the ability to cut them off. And if they go down, they should be a priority. They got to go in and get them fixed. Because every time one doesn't work, there's some shenanigans that done took place. But that being said, look, we got to do better. We can't be, for making this, to make this right, we need to adjust this way. Put some Kentucky windage on that and give them some, no, dude, we got to make it right and then make it right for everybody all the time. You don't make it right by making it wrong for a certain amount of people for a certain amount of time. Just make it right and move forward.
This is a disgusting racist woman who repeatedly spews the M-word, first at a young child and then at the person taking the video of her, does it with complete impunity, does it numerous times. We are talking about a bona fide, unquestionable racist. And so I don't understand why what you've just said to me bears any relation to white unity or anything that you've just said. She's just a racist.
Yeah,
isn't she?
White unity.
You wouldn't dispute that.
It's not about her. It's not about her. It's about
Well, it is about
people
her.
coming together and supporting another white person. And it doesn't matter.
Why
what
would
she
you want to
says.
support a white racist?
Because I want to support free speech, and you cannot have free speech in the country. if
Yeah,
you
that's
have-
fine. You can support free speech, but you also have to be accountable for what you say. She is, would you use the M-word out of interest?
Yes,
You would?
I do quite frequently.
You use the M-word
I
quite
disagree
frequently.
with her
Well,
right
why?
there. I mean, why? And it's not about any one person, but a group of people are asking, saying, please don't, that's offensive to us. Don't use it. Is it that big a deal? Doesn't mean you can't use it. I don't think you should legislate it, but I'm not going to use it. I don't see where I don't see the issue. I don't see why she feels like, But if she wants to use it, I guess use it. But I disagree with her, definitely.
Other than the fact you're a despicable racist, are you?
Some would say I am. I guess according to the ADL, I'm a white supremacist. I'm a neo-Nazi.
Yeah, well, if you use the N word repeatedly, you are a racist, then, are you? Are you?
Sure, I'll embrace that. If that means forwarding, helping white people achieve freedom of speech.
Well, Pierce is goading her. I think she's a free speech purist. I could be wrong. I don't know this lady. I don't know her. I'm just projecting what I think she's trying to say. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. She could be a big racist. But if you want to tell me she's a free speech purist, we can roll with that. And I agree with her. You should be. We all should be. But like I said, just because you can say something don't mean you should say something. I wouldn't even let Pierce goad me into it.
Real freedom of speech, which, by the way, Shilo Hendrix is being attacked on all fronts. They're trying to bring legal charges against her. They're trying to get her children taken away. So you were saying Karmelo Anthony, it doesn't matter. That's a different.
Sorry, but just to be
thing.
clear, you just said to me you use the N word regularly. In what context?
Right.
Do you use it with black people?
Yes, if it's appropriate.
When would it be appropriate to use the N word? When would it be appropriate?
Anytime I feel like it.
So you're an unashamed racist.
Correct.
Well, do you understand that makes you a despicable human being?
I guess so. I don't really care. I mean, why are we not talking about Shilo Hendrix? Why are we talking about?
Well, actually, I think you've moved it on in this debate very quickly to your own racism, which explains why you've supported her in public and why you've got all these views. You see no problem with a woman shrieking the N-word repeatedly because you yourself are a despicable racist, and you've just proudly admitted that with a smug grin on your face, which is pretty horrifying, actually, for most people to have to watch. And shame on you. You're entitled to do it, and I'm entitled to call you despicable.
Well, shame on white people for allowing themselves to be systematically discriminated against in the United States. This is our country. This is a country that should
What do you
be.
mean?
It's not our country. People got to get away from it. White people got to get away from thinking it's our country. Black people got to get away from thinking they built all the country. We built the country. Dude, you didn't build the country. Everybody built the country. A lot of people put a lot of effort in, incrementally building the country. A lot of things went on into building this country. No one group built the country. It's not any one person's country.
Your country.
Because I'm white and my
Well, there are no black people in American history. Is that what you're saying? That they've all just landed in America, invading your white country? Is that your position?
Yeah, she is kind of.
Well,
racist.
I mean, they were brought here technically.
My God,
didn't.
do you understand how dumb you sound?
This is stupid. This is stupid and racist. And at some point, we have to ask ourselves: do we want to reward this kind of disgusting behavior by platforming it?
Stop with the platforming thing. Look, you got to root it out and see what you look. 2 minutes ago, I didn't know if she was just a free speech purist or racist. I think she's answered my question. She sounds like a racist. All right, I'm sorry. But I still don't move off my position with free speech. Like, this woman doesn't mean anything to me. You think platforming her is going to change my opinion on her? It doesn't. I just by her position she takes, I can tell, what she's about. Just like the positions, the black dude in the middle, what he takes, I can tell what he's about.
I don't disagree, Mark. Listen, I didn't know she was going to say that. I don't disagree with you.
No. Yeah. I'm with you. I don't think you knew ahead of time. I'm saying at this moment, someone who's saying it's technically black people were technically
the panel.
Africans were stolen, enslaved, and they built this country. And the idea that you can justify calling a baby the N-word by saying that white people are losing the country is absurd. It's morally bankrupt, and it's honestly besides the point. I mean, all these are just distractions from the fact that she wants to justify dehumanizing and even animalizing a small black child. It's disgusting.
What is it?
Yeah, I never said that.
No, but you may as well have done because you're just an unashamed.
That's the implication of your
racist. Let me bring in Myron Gaines because you've been smirking and laughing. What's funny about any of this?
Well, I mean, I find it interesting that you guys want to virtue signal and wag the finger and say she's a racist and everything else like this.
No, she admitted she's a racist.
No, Marion's like I don't always agree with him. A lot of times I don't agree with him. But I agree with him here for sure.
Well, let me
I'm not wagging a finger at anybody.
She
I don't need to
self-identifies as a racist. She
but
said, "I am
Myron,
a
with
racist."
respect, Myron, I don't need to wag a finger when somebody says, yeah, I'm racist. I use the N-word against black people. I don't care. That's a racist. I'm not wagging any finger. I'm not accusing anybody. She is admitting it proudly. Even you can't defend that, surely.
Everybody is racist to some degree. The reality is it depends on, a lot of people want to be politically correct. A lot of people want to sit there and say, I'm not racist at all. We all have biases. We all have stereotypes. We all make jokes. We all are racist to some degree. Now, how racist you are is a whole other situation, but everyone is racist. That's number one. Next thing I want to say, see, I think this Shilo Hendrix and Metcalf situation is a microcosm of a much bigger problem. And that bigger problem is what I call systemic organized. And what I mean by this is for decades, we've had black people literally running around with black supremacy, committing crimes, not getting accountability for their actions, and then they blame the system for it. For example, George Floyd, criminal. Ferguson, criminals. Freddie Gray, criminal. A lot of these people are criminals, and what ends up happening is they challenge the police officer, they get into a physical altercation, things go left, they die, something happens, use of force is utilized, and then they want to cry about the result. When in reality, it's not the police killing black people, it's black people killing black people. And if you want to talk about black on white violence, black people kill white people 2 times as much. And on top of that, most of the shootings in America, a lot of the times, are white people killing, white cops killing other unarmed white men. So this whole systemic racism or police brutality or, oh, it's all so messed up. The reality is this. Black people have been able to get away with a ridiculous amount of privilege in America for a very long time. They're able to be racist with impunity. They're able to call white people crackers without being challenged back. And quite frankly, white America's had enough of it, and the chickens have come to roost. Now, look, am I saying that's awesome? Am I saying that's great? No, but for literally the better part of almost 2 decades since the Obama era, we've had to have BLM and liberalism shoved down our throats, and quite frankly, we're all tired of it.
Right, but just to be clear, you would have no problem with one member of this panel openly saying,
I think he's making way too much of that. Okay, so that's where she stands. Don't take her as serious as maybe you would have and move on. But like now that's hijacked the show. I think Myron was 100% on with his point.
She uses the N-word at black people with impunity and is proud of being a racist. You have no problem with that?
My worldview on the protection of the First Amendment and freedom of speech overrides my personal feelings. She has the right to say
That's fine.
it.
You can support the First Amendment, but you can also have a personal view about what she said.
My feelings are irrelevant. The Constitution is the Constitution. That's what matters.
Oh, that's fascinating. Hold on. So when it comes to chastising black Americans about their behavior, about calling white people crackers, as you say, about their moral claims about the racist system, you can levy a judgment against black Americans for all the things they do. But when it comes to this woman saying the N-word, and this other woman endorsing it and saying that she herself uses the N-word, now all of a sudden we can only talk about the Constitution and the legal right. We can't offer any moral judgment against it. That's disingenuous. And it's as the only black American up here, that's quite frustrating to hear.
How is he
if you want to be soft and get offended by that, that's your fucking problem, not mine.
Let me ask Ricky.
We're not even.
Let me ask Ricky.
This isn't about being soft any more than when you were desperately saving these white people.
Hold on. This sensitive nature that you have is precisely why we have this problem.
It's not about being sensitive. It's about I didn't articulate. Hold on. Let me finish, Myron. Let me speak, and then I'll let you respond. Myron, sure. I didn't articulate any sensitivity here. What I said, in the same way that you levied a judgment against black people, I'm levying one against the claims you're making. I'm no more sensitive than you were when you made your claim. I'm simply saying I disagree with you. And to immediately jump to you're being sensitive is just a distraction. I'm making an argument here. Just respond to my argument.
No, and my argument to respond to that is this. Political correctness, liberalism, and making sure that we are politically correct and don't use certain words to offend people is precisely why we're in the situation that we're in. For decades, we've had to literally tiptoe around saying certain things around certain people, while the other group of people has been able to have impunity and be able to be as racist as they want to be, as violent as they want to be, without any type of consequence. And if you call it out, you're labeled a racist. The reality is this. Black people don't want to live around black people. I don't want to live around a bunch of black people. I move to neighborhoods where it's majority white because I know I'm safe. Now, this is uncomfortable reality that no one wants to say, so I'll say it for them. Black people commit a lot of crimes. A majority of the violent crime committed in the United States is committed by a small percentage of people, and they tend to be black men. Look, the reality is the reality. People don't want to say it, but the political correctness and being nice and not wanting to tell the truth is precisely this problem. And the reason why you're seeing all the support for Metcalf and Shilo, etc., is because white people have not been able to step up and say what they want to say for a very long time because of what I said before, systemic, organized, where they don't take accountability for their
All right, let me
decisions.
bring in Ricky to respond. Ricky.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to say that I agree that virtue signaling went too far, that political correctness went too far, but we're going from virtue signaling being the norm and being praised to now vice signaling being the norm and being praised. It's not just a matter of does this woman have the right to use that word? I believe that she has the right. I disagree with it. But is she now being rewarded with $500,000? Why are we rewarding people for performing vice instead of virtue? This is not healthy. This is destructive to our society. This is destructive to our social fabric, to our culture, to our ability to live with other fellow Americans. It's gross to reward someone.
But it's not just gross to reward her. It's even more gross to reward Karmelo Anthony. I mean, the dude's a murderer.
For bad behavior. It's one thing to tolerate it, to say that she has the right to do it, but she called an autistic 5-year-old the N-word. Like, I'm sorry, but I feel like we're kind of like missing the point in the actual context. You can say that it's part of this bigger meta story of black and white America, but it actually is just like a short little clip, and you don't even know the context of it, and it's actually gross, and if we can't just say that it's gross and bad, then I don't really know where we are.
Well, I think it's interesting to me that Lily Gaddis, you retweeted Nick Fuentes, the white supremacist, by saying he said black people just raised $500,000 for a cold-blooded killer who stabbed a white teenager to death. So I don't want to hear one word about the Shilo Hendrix fundraiser. Either everyone gets to be tribal or nobody does. Why would you retweet that?
Because I agree with it. Because we have to fight fire with fire. I mean, at some point, why are
nobody does?
Why are Jewish people allowed to be tribal? Why are black people allowed to?
Oh, we can be tribal. Look, you live where, if you want to live around your race, that's fine. You only want to hang out with your people, that's your choice. But don't get upset if, somebody moves in next to you. I mean, they got a right to live wherever they want or wherever they can afford. You don't want to hang out with them, that's okay. Tribal's not, we self-tribalize. We do that on our own. Usually, though, it's a matter of where we can afford, I don't think the financial aspect of what a lot of people think is racism, I don't think is racism. I think it's more of classism or, whatever the financial breakdown is. We tend to hang out amongst where we can afford. I'm going to live in the nicest neighborhood that I can afford to live in. And I hope you do too, regardless of who you are.
Be tribal, but as soon as white people stand up for themselves, we're labeled a racist. And by the way, you call people racist when you want them to stop talking about things.
No, I called you a racist because you admitted you were racist. Hang on.
Yeah, he's definitely egging it on. You want him to stop, but yet you don't. He's virtue signaling.
Hang on. I called, just to be clear, I called you a racist because you openly, proudly admitted you're a racist. So it wasn't a question of exposing you or pointing my finger or trying to get this out of you. You proudly sat there, bold as brass, and said, yeah, I use the N-word all the time against black people. I'm a racist and I'm proud of it. That's what you did.
Racism is just having a preference. I prefer not to live around black people. I prefer not to live in a country where white people in our country are disproportionately attacked by black people. Where in my country, you can have an Austin Metcalf where he asks a guy to leave and he gets stabbed in the heart. I prefer that. That's a preference. Now, what a real racist is, in my opinion, is seeing someone as less human. I'm a Christian. I believe everyone's created in God's image. So I don't see anyone as less human. But that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to have a preference and say, I don't like what happens to be coming out of this community or that community. How is that a bad thing? How is that not just a preference?
Because you've literally made black people sound lesser humans. You don't want to live around them. You want to use the N-word in relation to them, a word that causes that community unbelievable offense.
Is that my fault? If they have bad behavior, if they want to act in a certain way, if I have to cross the street and be afraid that maybe because of the crime statistics that are very real, by the way, is that my fault or is that their fault for having bad behavior?
That's
Myron's dying to get in here.
Reasons. I mean, we're talking about bad behavior.
He's trying to be.
We've never lynched you. We've never enslaved you. We've never done any of the deep-seated structural forms of injustice to white people that white people have done to black people, and yet to claim some kind of moral superiority in the midst of, and again, in the context of a conversation where a white woman
black
is
people
calling
run
a
rampant
5-year-old
in this
autistic
country whenever it suits them. You know, they don't get a verdict they like on somebody else's case. It don't even have anything to do with them. But part of their tribe got a bad decision. The town's gonna burn. Happens more than I even know to say. Happens a lot. It's not, you know, everybody knows it. You know, if this case don't go, if Karmelo Anthony gets convicted, towns are gonna burn. Mark my word.
Child the N-word, and we're talking about black people's bad behavior. This is absurd. And the idea of fighting fire with fire, again, is a dishonest argument. Just to take us back to the point here, the people who are supporting Carmelo Anthony's campaign believe that he was wrongfully charged and they're trying to get him legal defense.
Kind of show
the people who are defending
doesn't mean
this woman are saying, yes, we know you called the 5-year-old autistic black child the N-word, and we want more of it. We approve of it. We support it. These are not the same thing. And it's bonkers to me that we couldn't all stand and say, hey, it is wrong to call a 5-year-old autistic black child the N-word. I mean, Myron, let me just ask you that question. I think this is a yes or no question. And correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think the woman was wrong to do what she did to that child in that park?
I don't approve of that. But what I will say is that it's very important to understand the entire context of what led us to this position. Because again, Metcalf and Hendrix is a microcosm of a much larger problem. Earlier, we were talking about tribalism when you were mentioning Nick Fuentes' tweet. Here's the thing. Black people could be as tribal as they want to be. You have people like Tariq Nasheed, Dr. Umar Johnson running around about black power and marry black women and keep it in the hood and all this other stuff. But if white people assemble and say, you know what, white power, we need to keep our nation white, they're immediately ostracized and labeled as supremacists, and they get banned off every single platform. I find that interesting. And
that's basically what's happening right here.
No, actually, it is the same thing. Because here's the problem with black people.
No, it's not.
Hold on, let me finish this. Black people practice the very racism they cry about. You guys can gather together and say Black Lives Matter, Black Power, but if white people get together and say white power and gather together, they're considered white supremacists and they get banned off every single platform. Why is that Jared Taylor and Nick Fuentes are banned off every platform for practicing white nationalism, but black people are allowed to stand every single platform getting interviews on a Breakfast Club? Explain that to me. There's a two-tier situation here where black people are able to benefit off of being racist while whites are not. And what we're dealing with right now in America is literally a backlash to this black supremacy has been able to run around unchecked for a long time, and no one has the balls to call it out. Here's the other thing I want to say. Everyone's flipping out over Shilo Hendrix is saying the N-word.
Can I respond to the point you just made, though?
No, hold on. Nobody flipped out like this when the United States was getting destroyed in 2020 because of black protests destroying every liberal city in America. So I don't want to hear it about, she made $100,000 because she said the N-word. Who cares? They destroyed billions of dollars of structure because someone got killed who was a criminal. That's the problem in America. You guys get a privilege that no one else gets to enjoy. You could be racist.
Okay. And all right, I have to hang on.
So, what do you think so far? I agree with all the guests to some degree. I probably most disagree with Mark Lamont Hill, but he does have some points. He's not baseless. And likewise, Lily Gaddis has some points. She's not baseless. I think the most reasonable was Ricky Schlott and Myron Gaines. They come in trying to, it's so complicated. When it comes to race, look, someone can say, oh, they're being a racist for just about anything that happens or doesn't happen for them. If something doesn't go their way, they can say it's racist. If something does go their way, then someone else can say that that's racist. And we tend to miss, sometimes we tend to miss the fact that there's real racism out there. And a lot of times that goes uncalled. That goes unchecked. That's what we need to be focusing on. You know, I mentioned it earlier in the video when we was talking, the redlining and all that. That was real racism. That's unacceptable. Even if something's even if you can consider something racist for some reason, but someone can, okay, package that up. We could talk. Let's move forward a little bit. Let's get closer as Americans. Like my mind is blown when it comes to some of the positions people will take. They'll take the opposite side of something just because. Let's say if a Democrat takes a side in Texas right now, they're doing this thing that's totally against anime, and they're trying to do like this whole pornography thing about it. Look, it's a real religious issue, but the Democrats are actually the ones for free speech on this, and they're the ones that I feel are in the right. I very seldom side with the Democrats, but why are Republicans not on the side of free speech? That should be everybody should be on the side of free speech. This shouldn't even be warfare between the two sides. Anyway, issues like that. One administration, they're for protecting the border, and the other one's not. Another administration moves in, it flip-flops. Why'd you flip-flop? Everyone should be on board with protecting the border. That makes sense. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Look, this is my second video. I'm releasing it the same day as the first video so they can help play off each other a little bit. Please do subscribe. I got to get to 1,000 subscribers quickly as I can. And comment. Look, if you comment and I don't agree with it, that's fine. I'll talk to you. We can talk. I will talk to you. I'm a small channel. I'm just trying to get this thing to grow. If you want to talk to me and you have something to say, agree or disagree, I will respond. I don't see me getting overwhelmed anytime soon. So if that's the kind of thing you like, then please comment down below. Thank you. Look, Flanley out.